So, one of the things I hear about from libertarians and anarcho-capitalists is that, no, Ephrom, you've got it all wrong. Libertarianism wouldn't actually help the rich, it would help the poor people. The rich hate libertarianism. Well, that's odd because in 1980, David Koch ran as a libertarian. And why don't we just have Bernie Sanders posted this about it a while back on his website. Tom Hartman's covered it before if you watch his show. A few others have covered it. But I feel it's important to look at this and say, well, what's changed? If libertarianism isn't for the rich, well, let's see what the rich platform is under the Libertarian Party. We urge to repeal the federal campaign finance laws and the immediate abolition of the despotic Federal Election Commission. Oh, so, you're just some rich guy, you want to buy out every politician? You can do that. We favor the abolition of Medicare and Medicaid programs. You're an old person or you're a poor person, you want health care? Too bad. By the way, neither of these have changed the platform, by the way. You can look at the Libertarian platform of 2016 or even talk to Libertarian or anarcho-capitalists. They favor all of this. We oppose any compulsory insurance or tax-supported plan to provide health services, including those which finance abortion services. I will be fair, this was before a lot of nations got universal health care. This was 1980 after all. However, look back on that today and just laugh at how bad of an idea that is. We also favor the deregulation of the medical and insurance industry. Oh, great, just great. I remember before Obamacare, people were getting rejected due to pre-existing conditions all the time. Oh, God, that was amazing, let me tell you. It was near impossible to get health care. And I know some libertarian is going to say, oh, why? The United States healthcare insurance system isn't a completely free market, which is true. We do have regulations. However, it's one of the freest healthcare markets in a first world country, and I'm not comparing it to a third world country because then I just feel like I was strawmanning. That'd be extremely unfair of me to do. Okay. We favor the repeal of the fraudulent, virtually bankrupt, and increasingly oppressive Social Security system. Pending that repeal, participation in Social Security should be made voluntary. Okay. Now, first off, this was 1980. I have no clue what they're talking about when they say virtually bankrupt. It was working fine until 2010. But, okay, we'll just assume they could see into the future. Do you know how much money, how many years we could fund Social Security for with the entire Iraq war budget? 300 years. Just a quarter of that could fund it for 75 years. That's 2.5 generations. Think about that. And keep in mind, Social Security was working fine until Johnson took some of the money and used it for Vietnam. That's when we started running out of it because they started taking it. Oh, here's another fact about Social Security. You want to know how long Clinton had it set up for, even without the huge deficit that Bush created with the war in Iraq? As I was talking, you used the money from the war in Iraq, including the deficit, to fund Social Security. Without it, we had it set up till 2074. It's only bankrupt because we made it bankrupt. We propose the abolition of government postal service. The present system, in addition to being ineffective, encouraged government surveillance of private correspondence. How? Pending abolishment, we call for an end to the monopoly system and allowing for free competition in all aspects of postal services. This was before FedEx and H&R Block and all those, by the way, so this just sounded like nonsense. And it really was nonsense until those companies popped up, and it wasn't because they didn't have a chance to before. It was because, well, simply, how do you do that? You need some sort of one big place. And if you expect them to create all these buildings, I'm sorry, but a privatized postal system would not have worked without the internet. It's just genuinely that simple. We oppose all personal corporate income tax, including capital gains tax. So someone like Jeff Stavos, who's worth $100 billion a year, meanwhile his employees are working 55-hour weeks and fall asleep while standing up on the job, we're fine with that. We support the eventual repeal of all taxation. Oh, by the way, libertarians, are you going to tell me that that's not for the rich? That that's just not a bailout? As an intermediate measure, all criminal and civil sanctions against tax evasions should be terminated immediately. Oh, yeah, you want to just put your money that you made here off somewhere else? That's perfectly fine. We don't care. We support the repeal of all laws which impede the ability of any person to find employment, such as minimum wage laws. Yeah, this is the right to work nonsense. And let me tell you, I guarantee you that if David Koch was just one day, he lost all his money and had to work with no minimum wage too, just had to work for $3.15 an hour in this economy, he would be going, oh God, I was wrong. He's never going to have to do it because his granddaddy made a whole bunch of money by actually working and he just inherited all that. We advocate the complete separation of education and state. Government schools led to the indoctrination of children and the interference with the free choice of individuals. Government ownership, operation, regulation, and subsidies of schools and colleges should be ended. See, that's just a conspiracy nonsense. It's just, oh, government schools are indoctrinating people. Okay, you can feel free to believe that. But here's the other thing. What would David Koch replace it with personally? You think his solution would be indoctrination? You think his private school, Koch Industries, private school would not be indoctrination? No, it would just be indoctrination for him. We support the repeal of all taxes on the income or property of private schools, whether profit or non-profit. Oh wait, I skipped one accidentally. We condemn compulsory education laws, and we call for the immediate repeal of such laws. So you don't want your kid going to school? They might be taught about evolution, and homosexuality exists. Ooh, spooky. You see, that's one of the things the Libertarian Party does. It just appeals to these nutcases, essentially. And this is one, if you know the Koch brothers' history, you shouldn't be surprised of. We support the abolition of the Environmental Protection Agency. That is probably the worst idea I've ever heard. Well, it's the best idea for Koch Industries, considering how they back people who deny climate change constantly. We support the abolition of the Department of Energy. We call for the dissolution of all government agencies concerned with transportation, including the Department of Transportation. We demand the return of Americans' railroad systems to private ownership. We call for the privatization of all public roads and national highways. So you want to drive the grandmas? You better bring some quarters with you because they're all toll roads. And by the way, to any libertarian watching, don't give me any of this, oh, it'd be in a homeowners association. One, how is that different from taxation? And two, that's not how it actually ended up working. Look at the toll roads in the Industrial Revolution. If you really think it's going to be handled with, oh, why, it would just be a homeowners association. No, it wouldn't. Let's continue. We specifically oppose all laws requiring an individual to buy or use so-called self-protection. They said so-called and they put in quotes. I think that's kind of redundant. Equipment such as safety belts, airbags, or crash helmets. Okay. I guess that's fair. I can understand making that choice. We advocate the abolishment of the Federal Aviation Administration. We advocate the abolishment of the Food and Drug Administration. Okay, go check the supplement market and tell me how well that's going. Just... Again, anyone who believes that's a good idea, go to the supplement market for your medicine from now on. Don't take any of the real medicine, go to the supplement market. And then when none of it works, you'll be coming back saying, oh, God, yeah, I guess we kind of need the FDA. We support an end to all subsidies for childbearing adults into our present laws, including all welfare plans and the provision of tax-supported services for children. Okay. Again, on a side note, libertarianism isn't for the rich, but when the rich are controlling it, that's the same thing they advocate for. Again, I've heard them advocate for this time and time again. We oppose all government welfare, relief projects, and aid the poor programs. All these government programs are privacy invading, I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce this one, paternalistic, demanding, and ineffective. The proper source of help for such persons is the voluntary effort of private groups and individuals. Well, the fact is, charities just aren't as consistent. Like, a charity, when it's specifically made a voluntary transaction, it could be one day they have $300, one day they have $1,200, one day they have $200. You know, one day they have $800. It's just bouncing up and down. You know, that's not a proper solution. We call for the privatization of inland waterways and the distribution system that brings water to industries, agriculture, and households. I hear the people in Michigan are going to love that one. We call for the repeal of the Occupation Safety and Health Act. We call for the abolition of Consumer Product Safety Commission. We support the repeal of all state usury laws. So, to sum up, libertarianism, no matter who's in control, is just one big bailout for the rich. The rich absolutely love it. Again, here we have David Koch writing their platform, and it's the exact same. It's the exact same in 2016. It's going to be the exact same in 2018 and 2020 because they don't actually change. They're just one big rich person scheme. They're one big club, and they'll let you join, but they're going to scam you every step of the way. I'm Ephrom, and good night.